Hey, what's up? This is Matt Dietz, and this is Agency Launch. This is the show where I talk about running an insurance agency. I talk about sales and marketing strategies for insurance agents. I talk about staffing for insurance agents. I talk about retention and customer service for insurance agents. One of the most popular questions that I get right now is, hey, Matt, I know I'm supposed to quote a certain amount of people every day. How do I find people to quote? Well, if you text me right now to 208-213-8809, I have an asset pulled directly from my masterclass that I'm giving out for free. Text me 20 policies to 208-213-8809, and I will show you how to write 20 policies this week. On with the show. Hey, what's up? Let's talk staffing. All right, let's talk hiring. Let's talk firing. I recently read a book called Quit: The Power of Knowing When to Walk Away by Annie Duke, who was a professional poker player. And it's a good book. There are a lot of good stories in here. There are a lot of things that you can take from it, depending on what you're looking for. And when I was reading this, there's some stuff in there where she talks about and did some research on hiring and firing and keeping people too long and what that costs you and things like that. And I have made my fair share of mistakes of keeping employees too long. So I wanted to save you the trouble, and I wanted to let you know a few things of experience and some things that I've read in this book to help you, build your proper team. When you have the right team in place and you're clicking on all cylinders and you've got people that are working for you, not only for you, but they're working with you. They care about the business. They care about the growth. They will hit their numbers. They will do what you ask them to do without question. You do not have to follow up with them when you give them a task because they do it. You don't get any complaints from any clients about, hey, so-and-so never called me back, or this said it was going to be done and it was never done. Like all of that stuff, when all of that stuff is not happening and all the good stuff is happening, that's what you're trying to achieve. All right. You're trying to achieve this overall, oh God, I hate the word synergy. But it's the only one that comes to mind, where everything's clicking on all cylinders. Okay. That's what you're looking for. And you shouldn't settle for anything less than that. Okay. You should always be trying to build your perfect team. Okay. If you have someone on your team and you know that you could replace them with somebody who could do better, like, what are you doing? Okay. If you have somebody on your team who's just kind of getting by, and you've had somebody in the past, like, what's your high watermark? I would ask you, like, what's the best employee you've ever had? That's your high watermark. You want to bring somebody else in that can hit that mark and even take it higher. And in my experience, after doing this for 18 and a half years, I know what I can get out of people. I know I've had some really good employees, and I will not settle for anything less than that. So if somebody leaves me, I want to replace them with somebody just as good or try and get somebody better. All right, it's this slow grind to the top. But when you're first starting, you don't know what your high water mark is yet. Okay, you just hope they show up, or you hope they answer the phone. And so the first chapters of your career, it's a lot of trial and error. Okay, because you don't know what does the best employee look like for you. Okay, so let me help you out a little bit. And I think the best thing to do when you're talking about like a producer, all right, is you have to set goals. All right, you have to give them most agencies are tracking premium. So you want to track a premium goal with your producer. So, hey, here's a premium goal. This is where we need you to be. And that number should be set like in the interview. I need you writing $20,000 a month minimum, okay? Or 25 or 30 or whatever you want to get them to. I think the number should be pretty stretched, okay? So the first 90 days are really important when it comes to bringing someone on. So if your goal is going to be 20,000, say, hey, first month, let's just get your feet wet. I just want you to write 5,000 in premium this month, and then 10,000, and then we'll get you to 20. Okay. I'm working with an agent right now whose goal is 20. And as soon as that producer hits that and then hits it again and again, if they're going to hit 20 regularly, I would want to raise it. Let's get it to 30. Okay. And put a carrot in front of them. Say, hey, every time you hit 30, I'm going to give you a $500 bonus. Okay. Cause you're going to make $1,000 at least. And if there's bonuses included there, cause I asked him, I say, hey, how much are you going to make if they make 30,000? And he said, well, I would make, 6,000 because of the bonus structure that's set in with this company. How much if he writes 20,000? Well, I'll make 4,000. So if he writes an extra $10,000 worth of premium, you're going to make an extra $2,000. So give him a $500 bonus. Would you spend $500 to make 2,000? You would every single time. Okay. So the problem is, what if they're not hitting their numbers? All right. What if by the third month, they're not hitting their 20,000? And, I would start asking you, what is the cost for you of keeping someone who is not performing at the level that you need them to perform at? Okay. I mean, you just run the numbers, right? In this case, if this person can write 30, but is only writing 20, it's costing you $2,000 a month or $24,000 a year. Okay. It's pretty simple. If they're writing $20,000, or if you want them to write 20,000, but they're only writing 10, they're costing you at least $1,000 a month in commission, $12,000 a year in premium. Okay. So, or in commission. So it's pretty easy when you can just take emotion out of it and just have the numbers out there. My number back in the day when we tracked policies was, I wanted to write 20 policies a month. And that's always been my goal for my agency. You got to write 20 policies a month or you can't work here. And once I had a number of employees that were able to hit 20, I would never go backwards. Like, why would you go backwards when there are people out there that can do this? So you just have to keep reloading in order to find someone that can do 20 or more, right? So going back to this book really quick, this was an interesting sentence that I really liked. And she said, there's a well-known heuristic in management consulting that the right time to fire someone is the first time it crosses your mind. Now that's pretty aggressive, I think, but I think there's probably some truth to that. I have been someone that has held on to employees for too long and didn't act on the early red flags because I always thought I was like one click away from getting this employee fully armed and ready to go. And a lot of times that final click just never happens because they're not willing to do the actual work that you're asking them to do. And that's something that a lot of times just is never overcome. Like they're just not wired to do this job. So if you see some early red flags, pay attention to them. The alternate question I would ask you, and I talked to an agent a year ago and I threw this question at her. I said, hey, she was having some problems with an employee. And I said, hey, do you see this employee working for you next year at this time? And it doesn't have to be a year, in 6 months, in 3 months, whatever time you kind of need to fill the sentence in. And she gave me a pretty hard no. And I was like, all right, what are we doing here? Don't waste a year, getting this employee out of there if they're not going to be there. It's scary to let someone go. I will tell you, I've had fears of letting someone go because I thought clients would follow. And that's just not been the case for me. I've let some office managers go who worked here for 15 years, who worked in this agency for 15 years. Now was scared to death that people were going to follow her, and none of them left. And that was an expensive lesson for me to learn because I held on to her for way too long. But I was afraid that people were going to go. You're losing someone that kind of knows how to do things and it's trained up, and but this is a short-term pain, to get a long-term gain. Okay. And then this other sentence, she said, Jeff Smart, a management consultant and expert on the topic of hiring talented teams, has found from studies done with his company clients that in hard costs and lost productivity, an average hiring mistake costs 15 times that of a person's salary. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think, if you pay someone $40,000 a year, I don't think you're losing 15 times that. I don't think you're losing $600,000, by letting an employee go in a business like ours. Okay. Is that right? 40,000 times 15. It is. So, but what is the cost of keeping a subpar employee versus a better employee? Okay, so it's pretty simple. Like I ran you through the numbers earlier. If you've got someone that's writing $20,000 a month, they're making you $2,000. They're making you $24,000 a year in commission. Versus if you have someone writing $10,000 a month, they're only making you $12,000. And like our business doesn't stop, so you can map that over 2 or 3 years and be like, well, that's going to cost me, $12,000 a year to 36. That's going to cost me $36,000 in 3 years. Okay, I mean, what does it cost to onboard someone? 10 grand maybe. So if you run the numbers properly and you have your set goals and you have your set expectations and you hold your employees to those numbers, that's why the 90-day window is really important when you bring someone on. If they're not going to hit those numbers by the 90th day, you got to get them out. Because if they're there for 6 months, they're costing you thousands of dollars. And they're not only costing you thousands of dollars, they're costing you what they're not bringing in versus someone who would be coming in and writing more premium. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So you want to make sure that you're holding your team to your goal. Listen to yourself, listen to your gut. If you've got someone in your agency right now that isn't going to make it or is not going to be there in a year, let's reset. Okay. Again, short-term pain for long-term gain. Kind of like that. That's like a bumper sticker right there. Anyway, that's what I got for you today. My name is Matt. This is Agency Launch. You can find me all over the place. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Deets Agency. And also you can check out my master program and one-on-one coaching program at agencylaunch.net. And if you want to chat with me, just send me a text to 208-213-8809 and type in chat with Matt, and you'll get a link to schedule with me. And let's get on the phone. Let's see how we can help each other out. Thank you so much for listening. Keep up the good work.